Hey Moon lovers, welcome to another episode of All Things Moon, Lunar Wisdom for Everyday Life with myself, Kelly Jones. This is episode number 27 and I've called it How Can Astrology Make Sense of the Circus? So as you can see, if you're watching me on video, sorry if you're just listening to me on audio, you won't be able to see this, but I am in a different environment. I have brought myself down to my writing sanctuary, which is my mum's caravan, after having much time off from being able to actually sit and concentrate and writing my book. It really was time this week, and I'll tell you a little story in a moment that has ended up bringing me here. But one of the things that brought me here was yesterday. I had my beautiful poetry circle with some lovely ladies that I write poetry with once a month. And that place is just near to my mum's caravan here. So it was a perfect opportunity for me to come down, get some peaceful time, although it is a holiday park and it is still the weekend. So apologies if we get any disturbances and outside noises from here. I also have not got my super duper fast fiber internet that I have at my house. So hopefully this will go okay. I think the video might be a little bit laggy, but apologies for that. I will do my best. Not in my normal surroundings. So it's taken me a little while to work out how to set myself up in here. But I've actually got more space, which is something that's making me realize that I need to address at home. Is I'm always struggling with my tiny little desk and that little space that I have. So maybe it's time to get a bigger desk. Anyhow, how was that eclipse for you? So on Wednesday, early hours of Wednesday morning UK time, we had all across the world, we had a full moon partial eclipse in the sign of Pisces. So I know, for just going on my own evidence and evidence from others that have contacted me, it's been quite an emotional one. Pisces being the most watery of us all out there. So if you had an emotional full moon eclipse, just forgive yourself and just, know that this was all coming up so that it can leave and we can leave behind what no longer serves us. So one of the lower expressions of a Pisces moon with that strong Neptune influence that we had, because the moon was conjunct Neptune throughout that full moon, is a slightly weakened or lowered immune system. And after our party holiday in Sardinia, both Tom and I have had post-holiday colds. Mine has cleared up quite considerably fast. I haven't suffered too much, but poor Tom has really suffered this week. So, these things that get sent along as seeming challenges can sometimes be gifts wrapped in sandpaper, as I always say. So not having a van to go to work in, because the van is needing a complete new engine fitted to it. So we're not sure when we're going to get it back. We, couldn't work for a few days, which gave us time to rest. And the Pisces energy, Pisces can represent kind of health issues that might include blood pressure problems, disorders of the feet, which is why I recommended reflexology. And I still have a reflexology session to use up, which I won in a bid in a charity auction a while back. So I must remind myself to go use that. But it can also cause a bit of dizziness and susceptibility to chesty things, coughs, and sort of phlegmy, chesty, wet, damp illnesses. And that is exactly what we have had in the past week. We've had, like, these awful chesty coughs, and mine has cleared up quite well. Um, but I have noticed we have done 2 days of gardening this week, and we had to work out of my car. So we can't take the lawnmower, but we've fitted as much into my car, and we've done as much as we could in 2 days, Thursday and Friday, that we could. But I did notice in bending down and standing up again, I have a tendency towards low blood pressure, and I had a few dizzy moments. So if you've experienced any of these physical symptoms, just know that they are passing transits. They are likely to happen more when we have these type of energies. So all a sign to take better care of yourself and to stop and notice yourself as well, to give yourself an opportunity to say, right, I need to rest. I need to address how I'm taking care of myself. And that's what it's done for me. And I had set myself a goal because next March, my Strala yoga teacher, Tara Stiles, is coming over to London for the first time in a long time. And looking back over and towards when the last Pisces eclipse was, I look back in my photographs, and I really recommend that you do that. So have a look to see when the last time an aspect happened and see what you were up to that time. And I look at my photographs to remind me, because we tend to take photographs of the good times and not the bad times. So we haven't got to go over and process all that bad times. But what was good, what was happening. And I look back to 2016, and I could see that at that time I had set up the Self-Love Club. I was running self-love workshops. I had got really heavily into Jiva Mukti yoga, which is a very devotional type of yoga. And I was actually dating Cancerian men who did yoga, who taught yoga at the time. That was part of my journey. And that really, I really dived deep into feeling better, being like a project, being weller than well, because we tend to think that we're well because we're not ill. But there is a place that we can get to. But I would call it a peak place, because the whole of life is peaks and troughs. And that was definitely a peak time for me. So the fact that I've actually set myself a goal of March 2025 of getting back to that sort of peak point of feeling great again really ties in really well with this eclipse that we've just happened. A nice reminder of how we can feel if we put our minds to it, if we remember ourselves. On October the 1st, I'm actually starting teaching again at a brand new studio in Chelmsford called Studio Libra. I'm very excited about that. I'm going to be teaching a Pilates class on the very first day that it opens, and I'll be teaching a Strala yoga class there on a Friday morning. And I'm looking forward to, as much as anything, walking with my yoga mat on my shoulder to work, but also being in that environment that encourages you to really notice how you feel and to take care of yourself. And Studio Libra is all about equilibrium. Their values are that of Libra, the sign of Libra, about balancing our relationship with others, but with mostly with ourselves. So what else can I tell you about? So that Neptune energy that we had surrounding that full moon. So they call Neptune the modern ruler of Pisces. The traditional ruler is Jupiter, the planet of expansion, but Neptune was very much involved in this one. And it's the planet that's associated with dreams, with intuition, the mysterious depths of our subconscious mind. And when the moon and Neptune come together in the watery, dreamy sign of Pisces, it can be like being in a dream within a dream. So if you've been having lucid dreams recently, that would be why. And so I've definitely been dreaming a lot. I noticed when I was away, I had very vivid dreams, and they haven't stopped. I've had a lot of dream time. So the dream diary is out. I'm having to write down, anything that's come to me in my dreams in case it's significant. But also this is highlighting a deeper intuitive time, an exploration of the depth of our emotions, that bottom of the sea, and, our aspirations, the things that we have within us that we've yet to come out and bring out. So a funny thing happened, I'll tell you about this. So in a dream that I had earlier on this week, just around the time of that full moon eclipse, I dreamt about the Lord. And so if you've been following my podcast, you know that I'm not meaning God, but it's actually a man, an elderly man that I met who is full of wisdom, who is an author of 17. He's just started his 18th book on subjects around the paranormal. And he is mentoring me. And I had a chance meeting with him right here at this caravan park. But it turns out that he's actually a lord officially. So I call him the Lord so that you know who I'm talking about. But he popped up in my dream. And I can't remember the whole of the dream, but I did remember him being there in my dream. So I went to my inbox to see if I had any emails from him. And it just so happened, wouldn't you know it, that he had emailed me. And the email started as, "Hello, Kelly. This is your subconscious speaking. Oh, this is your conscience speaking. This is your conscious speaking. How is the progress with the book?" So now you know why I've ended up coming down here and getting on with writing. So after I've recorded this, I'll be going back to my writing, and I'm writing a book around all things moon so that I can share how following the moon phases and really diving deep into astrology has really helped to save me in very dark times in my life. And what's the point in keeping it to myself? These things happen to us so that we can help others, not just ourselves. So I'm writing this book to find another way of serving you. So whether you listen to this podcast or whether you're into reading, you'll have some tools available to you, which I would love to share with you. So just as the moon influences the tides, of the oceans of the earth, it also stirs up the currents in our inner ocean of emotion, our inner selves. So the moon symbolizes our emotions, our unconscious, our instincts, our inner compass, if you like, and it can help to guide us through life's ups and downs, twists and turns, our light and our dark sides. And with Neptune involved, it can almost act like a dream weaver. So it can help us to craft and explore our deep inner desires and our dreams and our fantasies, and help us delve into our subconscious and reveal all our gifts and treasures that lie deep down in our own ocean. So this sounds a little bit poetic, but I was at Poetry Circle yesterday, so forgive me. So, it's like sparking a conversation with our internal selves, and hopefully heightens our intuition and gives us a chance to rewrite our own story to become the co-author with the universe of our stories and of our destiny, because astrology, the planets, they are to do with fate, but fate is really all about the choices that we've made and what has resulted from them. But our free will is our chance to make different and better choices. And the more we know and understand ourselves, the more it can help to make sense of this circus that we find ourselves in. So, what's happening this week? What's happening this week in astrology? So, this weekend, as I'm talking, Venus has been in a square to Pluto, and Venus will be entering the sign of Scorpio. So, she's currently in Libra and she'll be entering Scorpio tomorrow. And while she's been in this square with Pluto, we can think that Venus and Pluto together can kind of complicate and intensify our feelings around relationships, particularly. So it's not maybe just our general mood and feelings, but how we actually show love, how we show affection, and can sort of highlight and intensify any ways that we try to control relationships, how we try to manipulate things through our fears and insecurities. So to have our mutual true love and values fulfilled, because that is what Venus represents: our love and our values, our self-worth, our self-value, our self-love, and our love in general. Obviously, we need to transform and transmute and change any destructive behaviors that are getting in our way of having that fulfillment. So generally, our negative behaviors can revolve around, that sort of trying to control the relationship so that we don't feel insecure and we don't feel worried that it might end. So that Venus Pluto square can result in, those jealous feelings, possessive feelings, guilt trips, things like that, all coming up to be seen. They can intensify, but so that we can see ourselves gives us the opportunity to change that within ourselves. So, why do I feel insecure? What is it about this situation? So if you've been listening previously to my podcasts, some stuff that had been swept under the rug, under the carpet in my own relationship with Tom, right back to about 2 years ago with a Scorpio eclipse, some of that toxic stuff that had been swept under the carpet. And then this situation had brought up that to be seen again. So this trip to Sardinia, that time that I realised that I could have been sitting at home in Chelmsford whilst everybody else was on this white sand and turquoise sea partying and dancing. I was like, what was I thinking? What was it going on deep inside me? What were my insecurities? What were my fears that would have stopped me from having that experience with him? And the fact that I decided to make a maverick Uranus decision to do things differently and allow him to have explore his Aquarius free spirit, and not to restrain him through my own fears and discomforts, has actually leading things to have improved, to feel better, to feel more open, to feel easier. So as I said, Venus is going to enter Scorpio tomorrow, Monday, the 23rd, and she will remain there right until October 17th. So that will give us a chance to deepen our emotional intimacy with ourselves and with our partners, with our romantic partners. Um, with the sun just entering Libra today and it being the autumn equinox. So I have my little hedgehog here with the autumn leaves on this cup and my autumn hair colour. Just having a sip of my coffee. It's that equal night and day. We've noticed the nights are darkening again. So we held, after 2 days of gardening, Thursday and Friday all day, we had to unload all of the stuff out of the car and then reload it with our gong bath equipment for a sound journey that we were holding on Friday evening, which was it was much smaller than usual. We usually have 20 plus people, but we only had 11 people, nice auspicious number. So it was a much smaller, more intimate experience. Probably needed because we were both pooped from, having these colds and then working out of my car and loading things and unloading, and unloading was definitely a subject of this gong bath this week. But we noted that as we started the gong bath, all our lovely lights that we have that we've not really been able to use for much ambience in the past couple of months because the nights have been light, and suddenly it was dark at the start of the gong bath, and it gave that lovely atmosphere with the lights and real nice intimate feeling for everybody. And I've had reports back from at least 3 people who I know are Cancerian and Pisces people who experienced a wonderful gong bath experience, and then the next day a real release of emotion, really dropping down into that emotion, triggering some of that stuff that needed to be released and stuff that is no longer serving us. That's what eclipses are for. And so that gong bath sound healing and frequencies, what it does is it helps us to restore some equilibrium so that we can start to heal and release what we don't need. It's not us doing anything. We are just facilitating the space for you to come to lie down and help yourself, to heal yourself. And the vibrations and the sounds of the gongs and the singing bowls and the drums helps that to happen. One of my friends, it was her first time, and she said the sound of the drums sort of took her into a past life regression experience, that tribal feeling coming up. So, back to that Venus in Scorpio, Venus square Pluto, Pluto being one of the modern rulers of Scorpio, even though Mars is the traditional, this is very Pluto feeling that we have as we arrive with Venus in Scorpio and the Sun in Libra. So relationships most definitely will be in the spotlight for the next few weeks. And, using your power to force someone to love you will ultimately end badly. So, gaining some self-awareness and letting go of those controlling or maybe manipulative behaviors that we don't even see them as manipulative. And remember, we do have Mars in Cancer for the next few months as well, which is that passive aggressive behavior. So, and I know that I have tendencies of that myself. So, give yourself the chance to notice yourself and forgive yourself for any of these things. They are natural things that we do, and to admit to them, to talk about them, to release them, to forgive ourselves for them is part of the process of making things better. Doing things in a better way and transforming how we give and receive love is all part of the next few weeks' energies. And I will sort of elaborate on that subject as the next few weeks go on. I was listening to Yasmin Boland yesterday on her Moonology podcast, and she was interviewing an intuitive astrologer, a psychic medium called Natalie Miles, and she was talking about experiencing what is to come astrologically without necessarily knowing the astrological aspects before they happen, and seeing them almost synchronously play out. And this had me realizing that I experience exactly the same thing. I wouldn't call myself a psychic medium, but I'm definitely highly intuitive. And I'm sure that by delving into the moon phases and becoming aware of what's, out there that's greater than us, well, not greater than us, but, something that is there all the time, something that we can rely on, that's out there in the big picture of things, is a way of tapping into our intuition so we're not so shocked when things happen. And every time I start to do my notes for a moon ceremony or this podcast, I can already see the evidence of what's coming playing out in my own life or in the collective world around me. So, jumping back to going to Sardinia, those things are now clear to me that I should have been experiencing them. So, I tell you all this to try and help you with your own journeys and seeing what's happening for you yourself. I believe that we're all intuitive. That can be dependent, obviously, on our birth charts, but obviously how sensitized or desensitized we are to our inner and outer worlds. And again, becoming aware of the moon phases, aware of the astrological cycles and energies, and of course, getting into our own bodies, however that works for you. For me, my choice is my Strala yoga, to stop and notice how I feel, sensitizes myself to how I'm feeling and also to what's going on around me. And the more we get to understand and know ourselves, the better we can make sense of the circus of the world that we find ourselves in currently, because it is like a crazy circus. Just finally, I came across this guy today whilst looking for examples other than my own to share with you. And I came across a book called The Circus in My Head, A Madman's Path to Astrology by Matthew Keller. I'm yet to read it, but I'm definitely going to read it. And he describes himself as a wild ass Yahoo who enjoys drinking beer and smoking pot, and has had a harsh and dysfunctional life, which ultimately led him to feeling suicidal despair. And I'm not going to lie, I've been in that place myself, which is why I share with you how and what has saved me. And he describes how, in a determined bid to become a better fisherman, he studied the moon phases and how it began to touch him so personally. It somehow helped to explain his less than fortunate life so far, and he became infatuated and couldn't stop. So he's become an astrologer, and never once had anything opened his mind or his soul like the stars did. And that really resonated with me. That really is how it has worked for me as well. So, in this world of polarity and confusing messages, particularly after the Neptune energy that we've just had, which creates a lot of illusion and disillusion, the stars and the planet are something constant for us. They're non-judgmental, and they bring us some kind of clarity on the situation and some kind of relief that nothing else I have yet to find does. So I'm going to pull us a card. I came without cards, but then I realised that after I did a moon ceremony here a few weeks ago, one of my lovely ladies lent these to me, the Dreamtime Oracle cards, Australian cards by Laura Bowen. So they're Australian Oracle cards. So I'll just see if we get a little message come out for us today. And just whilst I'm shuffling, my next moon ceremony, will be on the 2nd of October. That's a Wednesday evening, and that'll be the new moon in Libra, where we have another eclipse, a solar eclipse. And if you're watching me on YouTube, please press the like button and subscribe and share and help to get this message out, because as I say, you know, it's not just for me. It really was the point in doing it just for me. This is to get it to as many people as possible. So what did we get? Here we go. So the ocean, the surrender card. Need I say more? Never fails to amaze me how the cards always show us what it is that we need to know most. Surrender, the ocean card. And we might just about have time. I'm just going a little bit over time here. But we might just have time to read out a little bit deeper meaning of this card. Let's put my glasses on. So in the natural light today, no ring light, so no glare in my glasses. So Australia is a huge island continent surrounded on all sides by the Pacific, Indian and Southern Oceans. People the world over flock to its beaches to enjoy their golden sand and beautiful clear turquoise waters. So I couldn't make it to Australia this year, but I have made it to Sardinia. The ocean is powerful, and at times its waves can seem scary, and at other times the waves are gentle, cleansing and refreshing. Salt water is great for cleansing your body and your auric field. I highly recommend salt baths. You often feel lighter, sharper and more attuned after spending time bathing in the ocean's healing waters. The ocean represents turbulence, changes, waves of power and quickly changing environments. Sometimes you are being challenged to ride the waves of power when you feel them approaching. There will also be times when you find yourself in calm waters, light-hearted and free. This card asks you to surrender to the power of the ocean and let yourself drift, allowing the waters to heal and cleanse you. A time of great power is upon you. Situations will move quickly, and you may feel like the ground beneath you is slipping away. And as we know, everything that's built on sand is slipping away right now as Pluto goes through Capricorn for its last time in our lifetimes. Now is a good time to indulge in long swims in the ocean or soak in a salted bath. So there we go. I look forward to talking to you again next week. All things moon, blessings to you. Please do contact me if you have any stories or have any questions, and I'll see you all next week.